Hi everyone, I'm Kerstin and I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story, how I got into Pilates, and my journey with fitness and health in general. So I'm going to break it into two parts because it's a long story. So this will be part one, and first I'm going to talk about the latter half of it, so how I got into Pilates, because I feel like that is kind of a good way to set up the story for my history with everything else. So anyway, when I moved to LA about 7.5 years ago, I was 23 and I had a different job. I wasn't doing Pilates. I never thought I would be teaching fitness at all. And I just felt like I was a little bit confused and unhappy with what I was doing. And so I signed up for a yoga teacher training because I thought that would just be an amazing experience. I'd get to know people because I really didn't know anyone when I moved to LA. And so yeah, I did that. I loved it, but I honestly never started teaching yoga because I'm very shy and I don't really like standing up in front of a bunch of people and talking. I'm better with it now. I don't really do it that often, but at that time I didn't actually start teaching yoga. So after that, I basically was recovering from a hip injury for a really long time, and I didn't know what the problem was with my hip until I went to a doctor and found out that I had a torn labrum in my left hip. So with the torn labrum, it was causing constant pain. I couldn't sleep at night. It was just always aching. And I was in a place of extreme over-exercise all the time, which I'm going to talk about in part two. But I was basically injuring it more and more every day. And so I found out I had to get surgery. And once I got surgery, I thought that I would just get back into my normal crazy neurotic routine of cardio all the time and gym workouts and all of that. And at first I did. That was kind of part of my physical therapy regimen. I was going to the gym, doing intense workouts. And one day I realized that I just couldn't handle it anymore. I needed a break. So at my gym, they had a private Pilates room, and I had a free private Pilates session available with that gym membership. So I went in there and I took my free class. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take care of my body and nourish my body for a couple weeks, and I'm gonna do what people have said is so good for your body, Pilates. So I signed up for a 10-pack of private Pilates lessons, and I just fell in love with it. After the 10-pack, I was doing 3 times a week. So after the 10-pack, I signed up for another 10-pack, and I was at that point just doing Pilates, but then I started doing my other workouts again on top of it. And then I thought that was okay for a while. Like, it didn't seem like too much. But after about a month and a half of doing Pilates, I remember walking out of my Pilates lesson one day being like, I don't think I can handle a gym workout after that. That was really intense and my body is fatigued. I'm shaking. And so that was basically the last day that I ever did anything else. I'll do other things now, but that was basically the last time that anything else was part of my regular routine. And Pilates became my regular routine. And ever since then, which it must be 6 years ago now, Pilates has been my regular routine. And it seriously changed my body. I got a lot stronger all around, like from my legs all the way up to my arms, my core especially. I feel a lot more stable now. When I go and do other workouts, even a yoga class, I just feel so much stronger, more stable. And so Pilates has changed my body in that way, but it's also really lengthened my muscles. I always had very short muscles. I was a ski racer growing up, which I'll talk about more in part two. And so for ski racing, you do a lot of training that's in the gym, a lot of weights, and it's all very shortening. So my muscles were bigger but shorter. And I thought they were probably stronger, but in reality, I don't really know how much stronger they actually were because I feel so much stronger in my body now. So basically, I was doing regular Pilates, and at that time, I was doing a master's program in psychology at a school out here in California. And while I was doing that, I decided to do a Pilates teacher training for mat Pilates and equipment Pilates because I wanted to teach private Pilates to girls my age so that other girls could get exposed to Pilates at a younger age rather than waiting till they were older and then wishing their whole life that they had done it their whole life. So anyway, I started doing that, and after about 6 months, I started teaching some friends, family, or people who just wanted to take free lessons. And then I started teaching privates once I got my full certification. So I was doing that for a while, and then COVID happened, and I, at that time, was teaching out of a home studio. So at my home, I was teaching private clients. And even though I could have continued teaching them, I just didn't feel comfortable because we really didn't know what was going on at that time. So I told everyone, I can't teach you in person. Let's get on Zoom and I'll teach you mat Pilates. So I'd really never done mat Pilates until this point. I was not really the biggest fan because mat Pilates is really hard and it's very effective, but it is hard. It's definitely not as comfortable and relaxing as laying on a soft reformer and just kind of like pressing out and doing the movements. It's intense the entire time. You can't really cheat in mat Pilates. So I started teaching my clients mat Pilates, and I got in crazy shape. I looked better than I ever had, but I was exhausted because I was teaching a couple hours a day and it was too much for me. So that's when I decided to start a little Instagram. I was never planning on making it really a big thing because at the time I felt like I was too shy to really put myself out there in that way. So I basically made it so that my clients could stay up to date with different exercises, or I could keep them posted on when I was like reopening my home studio and things like that. So that's how it started, and then it started growing because I was posting the carousel style workouts where you just swipe through pretty regularly, sometimes every day or every other day. At first, I mean, there was nothing else to do during COVID, during the first couple weeks of COVID, so that's what I was doing. And yeah, so it grew from there, and it's evolved a little bit since, but I've pretty much stuck to the carousel workouts, and now I do reels because reels became a thing, and I post on my story about my dogs and my life in general. So anyway, that's kind of where the Instagram got started. Then from there, I started a YouTube because I was getting so tired from doing so many workouts with my clients that I decided to do that a little bit less and send people to YouTube. So that's why I started the YouTube. So my guided workouts on YouTube, I was uploading a bunch of them, and it became so much work for me. It's definitely a lot of work to be filming workouts, doing the workouts, talking through it. It became a lot of work for me that I started thinking about doing an app so that I could make a little bit of an income off of it. So basically, I wasn't really planning on it, but it just kind of worked out that this platform reached out to me and they suggested I start an app. And of course, I was like, okay, I guess I can just do it. So this was 2 years ago now. And I started filming workouts. I started with, I think, 21 workouts so that I could upload it on my app and launch it by January. And I did that. And then ever since, I've just continuously uploaded workouts. And I think for me, what I've experienced is that I definitely have gotten more comfortable, more confident in filming the workouts. I kind of have it down now. I used to sometimes forget to plug in the microphone, or I used to not realize that my camera had shut off halfway through. So it was a lot of work because I had to refilm a lot of the workouts that I'd already done, and they were already really hard, and then doing them again was even harder. So yeah, that's kind of where I am now. I'm continuously uploading workouts every month, and I'm trying to make them more program style so that they kind of, each time I launch a set of workouts, it kind of works together. So that is where I am now, and I'm gonna get to part 2 where I talk about my backstory of my journey with exercise and intuitive eating and all of that. So thank you, and I will see you in part 2.